Hi Pins, welcome back to my channel. It is me. I am back with a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the Sherri Papini disappearance, fake disappearance. Crazy. In the meantime, I have a Coke that I'm going to be drinking and a cheesecake that I already started eating because I was hungry. And we have our sidekick, Molly, who really wants my cheesecake. This is so good. I want to say before we get started that there is a lot of details in this case, so I'm not going to be hitting every single one. I'm going to kind of give you guys a brief overview, my opinion, and yeah. Also, this woman is innocent until proven guilty. She hasn't been convicted of anything yet, so take that as you will. Sherri Papini at this time was 34 years old and she lived in Redding, California. She also had two kids that were 2 and 4, and she was married to her husband, Keith Papini. Keith was working at Best Buy and Sherri was a stay-at-home mom with her kids. So the story actually begins on November 2nd of 2016. Keith describes it as a normal day. It was a normal morning. He left for work. He kissed Sherri goodbye. So Sherri had texted Keith around 12, noon, and asked if he would be coming home for lunch. And Keith did not. He replied no. That was the last time that he heard from Sherri. So that day, Keith gets home, and usually he's greeted at the door by his kids. On this particular, when he realizes that his kids aren't at the door, he walks in and he's not greeted at the door. So that automatically threw him for a loop. He walks around the house, realizes that Sherri isn't there, neither are the kids. So the first thing he does is he calls the daycare where the kids were at, and he had asked the daycare when Sherri had picked up the kids, and they let him know that they weren't picked up yet. So of course this would raise red flags. So at that point, he went on his phone and he turned on the My iPhone app where you can locate anybody if they allow you to, and see pretty much where their exact location is. So he does this, and her phone is a little ways away. This was the first day that Sherri had started jogging again. I believe she had her boobs done. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And she had just gotten the okay to start running again, so that's what she did. So Keith goes and he goes to where the phone is showing that Sherri's at, and when he gets there, he finds Sherri's phone, her earbuds, and a piece of her hair. Ooh, a piece of her hair connected in the headphones. Immediately, this raises red flags, obviously. So he calls the police. From there, the police come out, and that's when the investigation starts. Sherri total was missing for 3 weeks. During that time, Keith was going on doing all the interviews he could. They were all searching for him. There was a lot of people that got involved with the case, and there was a lot of volunteers that helped. Keith opened up a GoFundMe account, and I believe it raised $40,000 if I'm not mistaken. Also, there was actually somebody else who was an anonymous donor, and he also donated a huge chunk of money, basically as a reverse ransom. So he pretty much said that if you drop Sherri off, bring her back unharmed during this time period, you will get the money cash, no questions asked. Nothing came of that. That was a few days before she was found. So fast forward 22 days later, it was actually the morning of Thanksgiving. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, a woman driving noticed a lady, and she was bruised up, super skinny. She had chains on her, she was restrained, she was branded on her right shoulder, and the lady was, I guess, hesitant to pull over and help her because 4 o'clock in the morning could be a trap. So she pulls over and calls 911, and she waits there. Also, her hair was cut too, so she originally had long blonde hair, but it was chopped off. So the ambulance arrives and Sherri's taken to the hospital, and yes, spoiler alert, it was Sherri. Also, she was found 146 miles from her home or where she went missing from. At this point, Sherri is taken to the hospital. Keith ends up coming in and he's crying, and he can see that his wife is badly beaten and bruised and cut and super skinny. I think she was like I think she was like 80 pounds when she was found. So she had lost quite a bit of weight. The police wanted to talk to her, of course. She didn't want to talk to the police. She said that during the time that she was kidnapped, that the police were in on it, and that basically the people that had kidnapped her were doing it for a police officer. So she refused to talk to police. So the police were like, okay. They gave Keith a little recorder and then took it into the room with Sherri and pretty much had her describe what happened. So her version of events were that she was jogging when two Hispanic women pulled up to her in a dark SUV, basically pulled out a gun on her, put her in the car, and they were drugging her. She thought maybe she even got, oh my goodness, she thought maybe she was even tased, and she was pretty much confined in a room or in a closet, I think is what she said, for the whole 3 weeks that she was missing. She also said that there was a bucket and they had put cat litter in it and for her to use it as a restroom. She wasn't in any way. They would basically just beat and torture her. If she was too loud, she would get beaten, and then at some point she ended up getting the branding on her shoulder. Given the evidence and how she was found, you would think that at that point there would be no questions asked. You'd be on the look for the two Hispanic women that she claimed that kidnapped her. Well, a lot of people from Jump were very suspicious and thought that it may be fake and staged, and they even thought Keith might be in on it. Personally, I don't think he's in on it. I think he was tricked, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me back up. Basically, they had a sketch artist come in, speak with Sherri, and describe her two kidnappers. Again, she went ahead and she explained who the kidnappers were. They drew a sketch out, they released it, and they were pretty much the whole time during 2016 and 2022, or more like 2021, they were looking for these two Hispanic women. Now, keep in mind, the whole time the police are still kind of like, weird. So when she was found, they took her clothes and they found DNA on it. Now, keep in mind, she had said that it was two women that had kidnapped her, but on her clothing that they had taken from her, it was a male's DNA, not a woman. So her story right there wasn't adding up, and it wasn't her husband's either. So fast forward until this year, 2022. So how does this case go wrong for Sherri? So eventually the DNA that was found on Sherri's clothing was put into a database. I'm not going to go into every detail about it. You can look it up. It's literally everywhere. But basically it ended up leading back to her ex-boyfriend. Come to find out, weeks before Sherri actually had disappeared or was kidnapped in her own words, she had gotten in contact with her ex-boyfriend, and she basically planned out with him for her to come, or for him to come and pick her up because her husband was abusive and was beating her. So he does just that. He comes and gets her, and the whole 3 weeks she was hid in his house. And he said that she would basically beat herself up. She was the one who cut her own hair. She had him go into a Hobby Lobby, which is a craft store, and get like a wood burning tool or something like that, and that's how she ended up getting the branding on her shoulder. Also, when the police did come to him, he was completely cooperative and admitted everything. His story was that he didn't know during that whole time, which I don't know how that could have been the case, but I don't know. But basically that he didn't know that Sherri was missing, quote unquote missing, until after the fact. So after everything is all said and done, they ask if, they can go in his house. He lets them do that. They come in, and pretty much the room that Sherri had described to the police pretty much matched his house. Like, she was saying how she was kept in a closet or a room or whatever it was, and they showed her the pictures, and they're like, well, and she was like, yeah, I think that's what it looked like. They were like, well, we know this isn't, basically that she was full of shit. Okay, so pretty much after the ex-boyfriend confirms everything. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, I'm sorry. The day of or the day before Thanksgiving, Sherri tells the boyfriend, like, I miss my kids, I want to go home, I'm ready to go home. So he drops her off, and that was that. And that's how she, was found running and whatever. So what's so messed up is that, like, a lot of people were questioning her story because a lot of it just wasn't lining up. Like, it was just very bizarre that 2 people kidnapped her. Essentially, she said, I don't even remember what she said, but it was something that she ended up getting let go. The people threw her out of the car, like took her and threw her out of the car, which is how she ended up the way she did. Like, the whole story, it was suspicious because why would you kidnap somebody, not really do anything but torture and, keep them locked up and then just let them go after 3 weeks. Molly, if you don't get out of my face, goodbye, Miss Small. Like, it just didn't make sense. And a lot of people were questioning it. And it's messed up because a lot of people had stood up for her and they were like, if you think she's lying, you're crazy. Like, the woman who actually ended up finding her after she had went missing for the 22 days, she did interviews too. And she was like, if you would have seen her, there's no way that this was fake. So they were on her. And then this past month, Sherri was arrested and she was in jail. And I think she was in there for like 3 days, and then she ended up getting bailed out, but she got arrested for a whole bunch of stuff because there was a couple charges, but obviously for faking the kidnapping, mail fraud, because she had gotten a decent chunk of money from like I think it was a victim advocate program. And it was a couple $100,000 that she basically conned people out of. Also, like, this woman, if this is true, which I believe it is, I don't think that she was kidnapped at all, personally. But she would, like, go into places and, like, she went into, I think, like, a Dick's Sporting Good or something. What the hell? A Dick's Sporting Goods. And she saw something, and she apparently had like a whole PTSD episode and started freaking out. And like, this would happen often, not just with that, but basically they would call, or Keith would call the police and be like, hey, she just remembered this lady, she put in the work, okay? And then, like, to top it off, like, the money that she did get from the victim advocate program, it was weird because, not weird, but a big chunk of that was going towards her therapist, and her therapist believed her, Also, while Sherri was missing, Keith, during the early days when they were looking for her, he set up a GoFundMe, and I think the GoFundMe account raised like $40,000. And come to find out, like, after the fact, they basically took the money and paid off both of their credit cards. So that was kind of a quick overview. It's not every single detail, otherwise this video would be super, super long. Oh, I lied. I forgot one thing. Another one of her ex-boyfriends had came out and said that she had lied like that all the time when they were younger, like in high school and stuff like that. Like, she used to just you know how you meet people and they lie when they don't have to lie, like just little white lies, like stuff that's not important. He said that she was known for being a liar. There was also another story. When Sherri was in high school, she was like, I guess, hitting or hurting herself some way, and she was pretty much self-inflicting injuries on herself, and then she was telling people that it was from her mom. So clearly she had a history of lying. And then it was said too, when Sherri was arrested, they did it like in front of her kids, I guess, and like her family came out with a statement afterwards and were like, oh, that they were outraged about how the police arrested Sherri and treated her like that's devastating to the kids. And I agree with that. Like, the kids don't deserve to see their mother like that. But at the same time, this bitch didn't care. But you went ahead and went missing for 3 weeks to go have a little rendezvous with your whoever. Were you thinking about your kids then? Oh. Just saying. So Sherri's out right now. At first, I know they didn't want to let her go on bail because they thought she was a flight risk. But they did. Either way, if all this is true, she's a special kind of fucked up, in my opinion. Last side note, Sherri had, I guess, like a MySpace page from way back, and there was some kind of article that she had written about how she was getting bullied by a Hispanic group of women. And I guess people were, I didn't read it, I just kind of read articles about what people were saying about it. Basically that she was racist, I guess, against Hispanic people, being that, I guess she was bullied by them, or it was something, I don't know. But a lot of people are thinking that's why she named 2 Hispanic women as her kidnappers. Real fucked up. All I got to say is I feel bad for her kids. I don't think her husband was in on it. I really don't. I think Sherri had them all fooled. I'm sure they don't want to think that Sherri would lie about something like that. Like, can you imagine? But I think she's sick in the head. Like, I feel like if you have to lie about some shit like that, you have to be sick in the head. Like I said, that's a special kind of fucked up. And what's even more fucked up, if she just did all that, right? They didn't get any money from it. Whatever. Okay, but she took that money from the victim's advocate thing and used it. And it's like, there's people out there that are really, like, you know, missing. And like, there was another case that at the same time, when Sherri disappeared, she had disappeared too. And that woman still hasn't been found. And there has been hardly any coverage on it at all. But this hoe over here likes to fake shit and gets all this attention and money, and I don't know, special kind of fucked up. Very narcissistic in my opinion. Alright guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. This was just a very chill type of video, just kind of giving you my thoughts and opinions on this hoe. Again, everything is alleged. I don't know this girl. I wasn't there. That's just what I've read. I would love to hear you guys' opinion down below. If you guys have any video requests, definitely let me know. And thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys later. Bye, Pins!